We're going to use some of the tools here on the toolbar. You already were introduced to some of the marquee tools, the rectangular and the elliptical, and also the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool, and the move tool for moving things around. And you were introduced to the magic wand tool for getting things off the background and selecting a certain number of colors from an image. Now we're going to start with using the difference between the pencil tool and the brush tool. But first we'll put a new layer on. We'll add a layer on. My background layer you see is locked here. If your background layer is locked or partially locked, you cannot move it and you cannot cut into it to cut to a transparent background. If you want to do those things with your background layer, you can double click your background layer and it will turn into a regular layer that can be moved, and sometimes you can accidentally move it, but you can lock it over here if you want. It's a lock position. Okay, but you can also, once you unlock your background layer, you can cut through and make it transparent. Now these are your foreground and background colors. If you click it, you get to your color picker. You see the foreground and background colors, and this is your pencil tool. Your pencil tool works like nearest neighbor. It is just one color. You see, one solid color. And I'm going to hit my right bracket, and you see my brush is getting larger. You can see the brush size up here on my tool option bar, or my left bracket, and the brush gets smaller. And now I hit my brush tool, and you see it's very soft. Very soft. So that is a bicubic with my brush tool. So that is the difference with you using either your brush tool or your pencil tool. Now I'm going to dump this layer in the garbage and add another one. And I have my brush layer still on. And when you use these options that are here, you can control the opacity. You see, there's 44%, there's 100%, there's 11%, and you can control the flow too. And you might say, well, what would you want to use that for? Well, I'll throw this out. I'll put another layer on, and I'll make a shape. I'll hold my shift key down so it's a kind of a perfect circle, and I will put in a color in this circle. I'll fill it with this color maybe here, and then I'll get a dark color, and I'll hit my brush, and I'll go to these are some of my brush tools. And you see there's all different kinds of brushes here. There's spatter, and here's an airbrush. I've got an airbrush. I've got the opacity down, the flow down. And I think I have the green on this layer. I'm going to make another layer just for my airbrush, you see. Make it pretty big. And I'll go around. See how I can kind of make some nice shading on here? And you say, well, it looks kind of funny on one spot. Well, I can go to my eraser and I can change the opacity on my eraser, and I can use a brush on my eraser, and I can take off. I can take off a little bit. See how I can take off? I can take off, and I can go back to my brush, and I can put on, and I can make a nice, and I'm doing it now with the shape of a ball, but you can do this with pants, with shirts, with all kinds of things with your fashion outfits. And now when I'm done, I'll go deselect, and I have some nice shading on this ball. I could do this with a skirt, a pair of pants, or a figure. So these are different ways that you can use your brush and your pencil. Okay, if I have my shading and I like it, here's my shading, you see? If I have my shading and I like it, I can merge it down one layer. So then I can move this ball around here. So that's these tools. I used my brush to show you, and I use my pencil, and I use the eraser tool. But you have to be careful. If you make changes on the tool option bar, then you've got to change them again. And see, my eraser can either erase soft as a brush or hard as a pencil.